Hello, and welcome back to this new episode of Women Leading Boldly. In this virtual summit, I am so excited to talk to Meagan. She is a retired attorney, a certified life coach, and a single mother of three who transformed her life through divorce. In the first 3 years after her divorce, she built a thriving business from scratch, generating over $600,000 and securing her own financial independence. Meagan empowers women to become the CEO of their divorces, helping them embrace ambition, achieve financial success, and build lives so good it doesn't make sense. She also mentors divorce coaches and professionals, guiding them to create impactful, dream-worthy businesses. Through her growing movement, Meagan is shattering the myth that divorce is a setback, proving instead that it can be a launchpad for an unstoppable, wildly successful new chapter. And that is exactly why I wanted to have her here today. I have been stalking her for about a year. She has been a huge source of inspiration for me as I build my coaching business. So Meagan, thank you so much for joining us today. And tell us, why did you accept my invitation?
Hi, Karen. Thanks for having me. I accepted your invitation because I think leadership, and in particularly self-leadership for women, is the key that unlocks the result, the life, the thing that you want. And we want to outsource that. We want other people to tell us what to do, how to do it, to guarantee success. We're usually overachievers and type A. We're very good at doing the right things to get the A. And then you get into your life and you realize it's actually not so much about doing the right things as it is about leading yourself and what's right for you. And sometimes that transition is hard and uncomfortable. So I love talking about leadership and self-leadership.
Okay, great. So I want to dive right in because Meagan's story is amazing. And I would love, Meagan, just tell us how you have built the business and have found the success that you have today, and tell us a little bit of the backstory. We'd love to hear it.
Sure. So I got married in 2008, and at the time was a practicing attorney. I graduated law school in 2006. By 2010, I had my first baby. And my husband at the time worked 60, 70 hours a week, as did I. And when my maternity leave was coming up, I looked at him and I said, who's going to raise this child? Because he wasn't going to be able to work less. And I knew my employer at the time, the law firm, was not going to love me working from home or working less. And so I decided I wanted to stay home and be a stay-at-home mom. And I was happy to do that because honestly, I hated practicing law. I didn't have the tools I have now. I didn't know how to handle my anxiety. And I was happy to go be with that baby. I ended up having 3 kids, and 2018, I discovered life coaching because I just had this nagging thought, I'm the problem, there's something wrong with me. What is going on with me? I can't figure it out, but I guess I'll know the thing that's going to help me when I see it. And I stumbled upon life coaching, changed my life, ended up getting certified in it. And it was sort of this winding road back to myself that helped me reconnect with what I wanted, what was happening in my marriage, what I didn't want to live with anymore. And in 2021, we separated. And I had to decide in the summer of 2021, was I going to go back to practicing law, which is what everyone was telling me to do, go get a job, just whatever you can take. And I had to decide, am I going to go do that because it's, quote, the safe thing to do? Mm-hmm. Or am I going to follow my dream? I really wanted a coaching business. And I had been trying to really start one since 2018-19. I was just really struggling to get any traction. Looking back now, I can see that was because I had other areas of my life that really needed my attention, and they were constantly pulling my focus from my business. So I decided not to go back to practicing law, and that I would focus on getting divorced. I had the privilege of being able to do that. I got divorced by January of 2022. That was final. And I said, okay, here we go. We're doing this. And I kind of sat around for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and was like, girl, you're not doing anything. What's happening here? So I hired a coach to help me. And I gave her, I think it was like a month and a half of the living. I had 5 or 6 months of living expenses in cash. And I gave her like a month and a half in cash up front. And I said, help me. I'm frozen and I'm not sure what to do. And she helped me uncover this thought process I had around divorce and said, what are you doing? You need to be helping women with this. And I said, okay, oh my gosh, you're right. I think I do. I know I have something to say. I woke up the next day and acted as if that had always been the case, discovered my message and tagline and branding along the way, and just like took off, fully committed, deciding this is going to be it and I'm going to figure it out. And I did. And it worked.
You did. You totally figured it out. And I mean, I am so impressed. But I mean, it's from that point, which is 2022, now it's 3 years later. So it's been almost exactly 3 years. You figured it out, but did it take you 3 years? Did it take you 3 months? Kind of what was the ebb and flow of those 3 years?
I would say that about March of 2, when I shifted into divorce coaching, I uncovered access to my own conviction. Like all of a sudden, before the work I had been doing in my coaching business, I think I was working with, quote, like anxious moms. And I just couldn't get behind it, really. I was like, this feels milquetoast to me. I don't really care. They're coming to me and they want to talk, like they're overwhelmed with laundry, but we all know it's not the laundry, right? But nobody really wants to talk about the thing that it is. And it was when I let myself say what I really wanted to say. And the only reason I had access to that was because I had been willing to feel the pain and the grief of my own divorce. And it gave me access to a truth that's true for me. And being willing to say that message out loud without filter, knowing that some people were going to be upset by it and some people were going to be squirmy and a little uncomfortable. Like my parents were like, you're doing what? Okay. I mean, nobody even knew I was divorced and we did it so quietly and so fast. And so once I found that, it was really just a matter of figuring out the best way to express that created a healthy lifestyle for me, plus the income. And that has shifted and changed over time. But the one constant has been, I know what I want to say and I'm going to say it. And that makes it so much easier.
It's a conviction. It's come back to the word. And was it hard to find your voice? And was it hard to, because I'm not divorced, so I am not an expert at all in the topic, but it's a sensitive topic, or I would think it's a sensitive topic. How was there a lot of stigma around you being and having such a strong viewpoint? Like you said, it made people uncomfortable. Did it? Like how much did it? And for you, was it difficult?
Well, it was not for me because I put blinders on. There probably is still a stigma around it, but I don't look for it. I don't pay attention to it. I don't think about it. I'm so in my own world and my own paradigm that I've created that when I go out into the world and I encounter someone, so I live in Texas, it's more conservative. And so when I go out and I meet somebody new and I say, oh, I'm divorced, and they have a certain emotional response to that. And I forget that it's maybe sensitive or means something else to other people. And that's fine. I don't, but it reminds me, oh, I'm very careful to curate what I let into my consciousness and what I don't, so that I don't have to do that work. Like there's enough work without that.
Oh. Okay. So what has been the most exciting thing about these past 3 years?
The most exciting thing has been learning to trust myself implicitly and to be able to make the decisions I want to make based on the story I want to tell about my life. So I used to, and I'm sure your listeners can relate to this, be at a fork in the road, right? Or when I was deciding whether or not I wanted a divorce, it was just torment, right? Torturing myself. Do I or don't I? Do I? And this is all adversity, right? Any adversity we face gives us an opportunity to say, how am I going to approach this? How am I going to walk through this? And I used to look outside of myself and say, what's the best choice to guarantee the outcome I want? And now I look at a choice or a decision that I'm making and I say, what story do I want to be able to tell? And that makes my decision-making process so easy and so simple. And the more I do that, the more I trust myself, the more fun it gets.
Oh my gosh, I love that question. What story do I want to be able to tell? That's
yes.
So powerful. Okay. So, and so what was one of the most challenging things also over the past 3 years?
Yeah, my fear of not being able to do it, not being able to do it alone, not being right. It's almost like an ego death. We have to surrender to the possibility that we could fail and fail publicly in a big way. And I've had this experience with my kids and parenting them and not being in control of their lives 24/7 like I was before. I've had this experience in my business. When you can surrender to the fact that you might fail publicly in a big way and that you'll be okay even if your worst case scenario comes true, that you trust yourself to handle that, then you are free to choose anything in the moment. But getting there for me was painful because I just wanted someone to come save me. I wanted someone to come make the hard decision for me or make it easy or tell me what to do or just take it all off my plate. And we get backed into a corner and we realize no one's coming. And for me, that was a huge, emotional and psychological hurdle. It's like, I am the one, and I am going to become my own guarantee. And sometimes it's really uncomfortable, hard work, and sometimes it's easy, but it always pays off. And it's worth it. It is worth that messy transition middle to come out the other side, knowing that you are the sure thing, not the thing outside of you.
That is so, I think so many people expect somebody else to come and save them or help, or I think it comes down to ownership is what I'm hearing is it's you own what happens to you, you own your decisions, and you're not putting that on somebody else. You're not outsourcing that, but yeah, and you're not waiting for somebody else to make the decision. I fully get it.
Yes, I love the word ownership. It's so good. And how do we do that? How do we take ownership without emotionally bypassing, without spiritually bypassing, without gaslighting ourselves? That's the piece that I really help women with because I want them to own their decisions and their experience, but I don't want them to do it by thinking positively all the time, right? Trying to feel good all the time is not the goal.
So tell me a little bit about that, because a lot of people now talk about toxic positivity and changing your mindset. And it's just give us your viewpoint on, like you say, it's not supposed to be positive all the time. Can you elaborate?
I think it's much more important that you own your opinion about something and take responsibility for that than it is for you to try to make the best of something or create an opinion that feels good to you. So if something happens, say with a teacher and my kids at school, and I don't like it, right? I want to own my anger or frustration about that because that informs what I do next. And it's a reflection of who I am and my values and my integrity and my vision. So if something upsets me, I want to own that. And I recognize it's coming from me. It's not the thing outside of me. And I can choose any thought. But sometimes I want to choose to not like something or to feel sad about something or to be devastated or disappointed and to really take ownership over your entire human experience and recognize that it's a beautiful reflection of who you are as a human, not a problem. So now we can just feel anything we need to feel and recognize that it's all helping us get where we want to go.
Okay. And so did it take time to get there? Did it take a lot of unpacking? Like, tell us just a little bit, and, depending on how much you want to share, but how much of that process, what was that process like for you?
Which process? Tell me, ask me again.
Learning to unpack, feeling and owning those emotions, whether it be the sadness or the fact that you're devastated. Did you find that doing that work came easy, or was it a process that over time became easier, or you became more skilled at it? Not saying it's easier. It's probably never easier, but is it something you become more skilled at?
Yes, it is something you become more skilled at. And yes, in the beginning, I describe it as your face wanting to melt off. Like, for me, the discomfort was so intense, and my divorce kind of threw me into the deep end of this. So it wasn't a slow process. I just ripped the Band-Aid right off. I think it comes down to being willing to take up space and say, wait a minute, I have an opinion about this, and I'm going to say it right now, and I'm going to act on it, or I'm going to honor it, and practicing that over and over again, because most of us, I don't know if we're trying to be wallflowers, but we just want to be accepted, right? We want to be approved of. And so when we have an opinion that might create disagreement or conflict, we swallow it more than we say it. And learning to say it and to allow myself to feel those feelings was a rebirth of a process. It was very uncomfortable, but it does get easier because you start to see the incredible results it creates in your life, how much easier it makes your life I talk about it like an investment. If you're willing to feel the emotional discomfort on the front end, it's like putting money into a savings account for your child when the child's born for college, right? It's an investment up front. The payoff is huge on the back end. And so you do get better at and more comfortable with taking up space. I don't know if it's always comfortable, but it does get easier.
Okay. And so tell us a little bit about, how would you describe maybe your leadership style when it comes to managing and leading your business, working with clients? What is your style, and was it something that was innate? Did you find it? How would you describe your style?
Ooh, that is a good question. I think it is a natural expression of my sincerity, my conviction, and my self-trust of me, but also I implicitly trust my clients and the universe. And I trust what we're co-creating, even if it's uncomfortable or it's not quite what I thought it would be or even what I wanted. But I believe in my ability to create the life that I want. I trust myself to handle anything that happens as it unfolds. And because of that, I can implicitly trust and believe in my clients. And this is true for all of us. For you, for all the women listening, you can have the life you want. And I believe that without a shred of doubt now. And I think that undercurrent in my leadership, I just show up and do me, right? Yeah. But that is sort of the undercurrent now, right? I believe in myself and I believe in you and I trust both of us. So let's go.
It's that trust that you have in you, that you have in others, and that just shows up in everything that you do. Yeah. So important.
Yes.
Okay. And is there anything that has influenced that type of leadership style? Like, did you just kind of come into it, or did something happen that maybe precipitated it, or, was really at the basis of forming that style?
I think it's always evolving. I think it's been an evolution. So the first 18 months after my divorce, when I was just a little bit of survival mode, right? I have to feed these kids. I had a mortgage. I had, real life responsibilities. It was not just play. And I think it was, we're going balls to the wall, excuse the expression, like all in all the time, because I'm trusting that this is working. And I wasn't stressed necessarily, but it was 24/7. My brain was always thinking. I was always looking for new ways to say things. I posted like over 1,000 posts on Instagram in that first 18 months. And in March of 2023, I found my mentor, Sarah, and I made a pretty bold decision to pay her in full for a year in cash from the equity I'd gotten from selling my home after my divorce. So I had $250,000 to my name. I was like, take 60 of it, and I want to up level this whole experience. I was fully booked. So I was on Zoom 17, 18 hours a week during the school hours, because I have 3 kids. So, 2:30 rolls around and I'm off to do pickups and drop-offs and all the things. So I was doing the marketing, the back end stuff, and coaching my clients on Zoom that many hours a week. And I could tell. I was like, this was fun, but now it's time. We need the next phase. And that next evolution, working with her for the last 2 years, has helped me soften into my business and to use, I'm very ambitious and I'm very driven and I'm a self-starter, and most people listening can probably relate to that. But I've learned to use that more precisely like a laser rather than throwing spaghetti at the wall. It's like, instead of doing all the things all the time, let's get really intentional and strategic about what you're doing, and then also start redesigning my lifestyle so that I'm also resting and taking care of myself in other ways as my most valuable asset.
And so what benefits have you seen in changing and looking at your business and yourself? I love the idea of looking at yourself as the most strategic asset. What are the benefits now that you look back? If it's been almost 2 years that you've been working with this coach, like, how is that paid off?
I mean, just monetarily, I've generated over $600,000 in cash just since I started working with her. So that doesn't even include the first 18 months. So there's that, which has been so fun. I've been able to scale my business with working less, which is the fantasy everybody wants, but we're not really sure exists. So there's been that payoff. But I think the money is important and it's fun, so I don't want to discount the money. But internally, the shift that I have seen is a gentleness and a less harsh relationship with myself. It's warmer, it's more supportive. I now can get to 2:30 in the afternoon and say, whatever happened today was enough, and know that that's true. And then I can check out mentally for the rest of the day and be with my kids. And that freedom, mentally, emotionally, is
okay. So what do you think, with a lot of the women that you work with also, what are the biggest, because literally what you have done is you have invested in yourself. You went all in, you felt all of the things, you found your true voice from somebody looking out. And I just want to encourage all of our listeners to go onto Instagram and follow Meagan Norris. The way she shows up is absolutely amazing. And it is an example for anybody who wants to build a kind of business that we all dream of. So, but it's hard. For a lot of women, it's hard. What do you see as the biggest limiting beliefs of the women that you work with to create a life that they want, that they dream of?
I think it's there's fear about showing their authenticity, being their authentic self. Because a huge reason why my Instagram has grown the way it does, why people resonate with it so much, is because I'm willing to be transparent. Ruthlessly transparent. Ask me anything. I will tell you numbers. Nobody talks about numbers. It's all this mysterious sort of shame soup. especially when you're getting divorced and everyone has an opinion about your money, your financial advisor and your accountant and you. And I just think that women think if I show my true self, if I do what I really want to do, I'm going to be rejected and I'm going to fail and I'm not going to be okay. And it's overcoming this fear of not so much failure. I think it's more fear of I'm not going to be okay. I'm not going to be able to handle it. Meanwhile, over here in their lives, they're handling all the things, the hardest things, the adversity, their kids, the job, the promotion. I work with women in the C-suite. I work with business women who have their own businesses, and it's the same story. I worked with a woman who got a $50 million divorce settlement. $50 million. She was divorcing a billionaire, okay? And I've worked with women who are getting closer to like what I got, a couple $100,000. The drama is the same. We all think that we're not going to be able to handle it. Meanwhile, we've already handled the hardest thing. So I think there's something really scary about being rejected once you have the courage to show your true self. And I still wrestle with that too sometimes. And it's this stepping out off the ledge. It feels like you're stepping off without a safety net. But what I really want you to know is that you are the sure thing. You are your own guarantee. Of course, you can handle it if you're rejected or you fail. And it's a sweeter pain than the pain of not even giving yourself a chance.
And if there was one step, like one next step that somebody could take just to move the needle a little bit in their life towards that, a situation that pushes them out of their fear or out of their comfort zone into something that's a little bit more or scary or very scary, what is one small step or mindset shift or action that they could take that could encourage them, help them, self-support them for a next step?
I think it has to be to get yourself into a room with somebody who believes in you, for you, that you can lean on until you can take over that. When I first hired Sarah, I remember I was taking a walk with my dog and she had sent me a message. And it was something to the effect of your mission and what you want for your life matters. It really matters that you give birth to it. And because it's what you want, it is inevitable. And I was just weeping, listening to that message because I had not to that point, I had been carrying that by myself, sort of holding my breath. And I didn't have anybody in my life telling me that it was inevitable, never mind possible. And to have someone reflect that back to you personally, based on your story and the facts of your life, is invaluable. And you can do that at whatever level you want to do it at. You can pay $100 a month or you can pay $60,000. It doesn't matter. But to put yourself in the energy of someone who believes that it's inevitable for you will move you further, faster at collapse time than you spinning your wheels trying to do it alone.
So why do you think women are so scared to invest in themselves?
I think we have some messed up beliefs about money and we don't understand the flow of it. And we don't understand that we are our own guarantee. Like I've said, we think that there's something outside of us that's going to fix it or be the answer. So why would we pay to invest in ourselves? Tell me what I'm going to get. And when someone comes to a consult with me and they start talking in that language, right? Like, are you going to give me a blueprint or tell me what I'm going to get? Sometimes I will say, I don't think you're a right fit for this, because what you get is the experience of investing in yourself at this level and feeling all the feelings that come up. If you are that valuable, what do you have to feel? It does not always feel good to give ourselves what we want. And it brings up all the things. So we have to change our relationship to money, spending, receiving, holding, and understand that it's a currency, it's a flow. And we've got the flow clogged up with our own scarcity and lack of self-belief. We got to change that.
Okay. I'm so glad that you mentioned it, because investing, I find it's very difficult for women, and they come in and they're scared because, and I hadn't put my finger on exactly why, and I think you've nailed it, is that sometimes they're expecting somebody else to do the work. They're expecting the solution elsewhere. And so I'm so happy that you brought that up. So tell us more specifically about your business today. So who do you help? What kind of services? And how has that evolved?
So I started out working only one-on-one with women for 6 months at a time. Now I have a couple of different offers women can come into. So it actually doesn't matter where you are in your legal divorce. I help you with the emotional divorce. So sometimes women come into I have a membership that's $100 a month. You can come in, you can cancel anytime you want. No matter where you are in your legal divorce, the emotional processing and work that needs to be done happens in that membership. And it helps you reconnect with your power, reconnect with how you're going to, or learn a new way of managing your negative emotion so that it doesn't hold you back and create more conflict and results that you don't love in your life. Once we have that foundation, now we're ready to create wealth in your own name. So I want to help women, even if, maybe especially if you got millions in your divorce, a lot of women still have this desire to create something and to know that they can make their own money. And so I will tell them, look, you've created one fortune and it's a gift. You have it and it's a safety net. But now let's go create one in your own name just for fun because you want to. So we do the wealth energetics work, and we can do all of that in the membership. I have a private mentorship offer where it's one-on-one for 6 months. And I have a business mastermind. So if you're in the coaching space, and in particular a relationship space, single mom, divorce coaching, there's a lot of scarcity we bring with us from the divorce process that is bleeding into people's marketing and offers, and they don't even realize it. So I help them kind of pull that out and up-level their business.
Okay. All right. Maybe just to kind of conclude here, is there one risk, maybe one thing that you never expected? It doesn't even have to be a risk, but something you did that really paid off big, that in hindsight you never expected or you're surprised. Is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, there are many, because I do this all. Now it's part of my brand, right? Every time I'm making a decision, I think, what is so good it doesn't make sense? What's going to confuse people? Like, wait, you had the guts to do what? So there are marker decisions along the way. Number one, I didn't go back to practicing law during my divorce, even though everyone was telling me to do that. I sold my house and moved away from my family after my divorce, and everyone was like, what are you doing? Are you insane? But I loved my reasons for wanting to do that. I would do it again, and it paid off big time for my kids and for me. I bought a house last summer. Everyone was like, what are you doing? The circumstances here don't make any sense. And now I'm living in this beautiful neighborhood in this dream house. And so I just keep doing it over and over again. I'm paying my mentor $60,000, paying her another $100,000 for this next year, just telling everyone I'm going to tell you how to make $1 million in a year before I've done it, because I know exactly how I'm going to do it. And so I would encourage everybody to start making decisions from that lens, even if they're little. They can be little. They don't have to be huge, sweeping, risky decisions, but they always pay off, even if they're giant failures. Do we have time for me to tell a failure story?
Yes, please do.
Okay.
Please do.
I live in Texas. I decided I wanted to move to Colorado, but I had to get court approval for this because we didn't agree, my co-parent and I, and that's fine. So we went to court. We had a hearing. And some new information came out at the hearing that changed my mind. So I had gone to all this trouble, paid all these legal fees. I had canceled my lease in my current town. My lawyer was like, you will get approval for this and you can move. I was ready to move. And this hearing came, and afterwards, my face was melting off and I was just a mess. I was like, oh no, I can't move now. Like, given this new data, I'm changing my mind. My lawyer, he was like, you're doing what? Wait, what? Wait a minute. You can go. You're probably going to win this. And before I even had the court order or knew what the judge was going to say, I changed my mind and decided to stay. And many would have seen that as a failure, right? You wanted to move to Colorado. I created all this content about my dream being to live in the mountains and how I couldn't wait to be in the mountain air. I even took my kids there to shadow a school over winter break. And then I just totally pivoted. And that risk of so publicly declaring this is my desire and then being willing to say it's not anymore. I changed my mind. It's still paying off in ways that I can't even fully grasp yet, for my kids, for me, for my business. And, some people might say that's a failure, but I can see now how that risk paid off, because I would not have had the experience I had. I wouldn't have gotten the data that I had gotten through that experience if I had not been willing to risk that. So it's not always this beautiful, glamorous win, but there's still good data in there.
So would you say everything could be turned into an opportunity to learn, to apply something new, I think it's also a mindset, is if you go into every situation thinking, no matter what happens, and not just seeing it as a failure, but I'm going to learn something, I'm going to evolve, I think it becomes easier if you go in with that kind of thinking already.
100%. If something doesn't work out the way that I want, I have negative emotion about it. Sometimes I feel terrible, but I also always believe that there must be something better coming. Like, if it's not this, then it's something better. And because I'm willing to believe that, even in my darkest hour, that always turns out to be true. We just don't always get the answer right away, and we want that instant gratification. But if you can hold that trust and be like, okay, I feel terrible today, but I trust that something better is coming, it will show up eventually.
I think the universe always trades up, is the way that I like to look at it. Always trades up. So
always.
Okay. So Meagan, tell us, if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, how could they do that? Number one. And my second question is there anything also that you have on your heart that you would love to share with the listeners that maybe I didn't ask, or something you'd like to touch upon?
You can find me on Instagram and contact me there. And probably circling back to the money and wealth piece, I think there's a lot of women who have a lot of ambition and who want to feel and have a certain amount of financial security. And I think we need more compassionate, powerful women who are well-resourced. So if that vision is on your heart and that's something that you want, you can have it. And I would encourage you to take steps towards creating that, whether it's a promotion or in your own business, because that's how we change the world. And so I would leave your listeners with that.
Okay. Great. Thank you. And I will link everything. Thank you so much. This has been such a powerful conversation. So I'll link everything and also to your website. So thank you so much, Meagan, and everybody else. We'll talk soon.
Bye.